Tragic news as we come on the air tonight. 28-year-old Richmond police officer Sierra Burton has passed away. Late last night, she died 5 weeks after being shot during a traffic stop. Burton was escorted from Dayton back to Richmond earlier today. We were there as the emotional procession made its way through Dayton. We have team coverage from both the start and finish of that motorcade. Let's go first to Allison Walker, who is live downtown tonight. Allison, how is the Dayton community mourning her loss?
Yes, well, Megan, it was just such a heart-wrenching procession, and I spoke with Dayton police officers off camera who tell me it never gets any easier losing a fellow officer. It's clear that this loss isn't just impacting Richmond, as Daytonians who didn't even know Burton lined up to pay their respects. And many people here today were brought to tears speaking about her.
I've just been following the story ever since it happened, and it's just, it's just touching. I wanted to be here. I really feel bad for her family. I'm from a military family, so I understand the sacrifice. And just, I pray that they find peace.
Now, Allison, I know you talked with a lot of people today. What are they saying about why they felt so connected to Officer Burton?
Yes, well, Megan, many people I spoke with today tell me they were praying for Burton's recovery since day one, and they say that it's just very difficult to come to terms with the loss. And they also tell me it's hitting hard because she was so young and because she was shot less than 2 weeks before her wedding day. But be sure to tune in tonight at 6:30 on Fox 45 to hear from Richmond residents who traveled all the way to Dayton to pay their respects. Back to you.
Allison, thanks so much. And continuing our coverage now, Mamie Boz live in Richmond, Indiana, where the procession just wrapped up a short time ago. Mamie, what's the feeling there in that community tonight?
Well, many here are just very saddened by yesterday's news. Now, for 5 weeks, Officer Sierra Burton fought for her life, first at Miami Valley Hospital, then at a hospice facility here in Richmond. Now, you remember I was here over a month ago as the community came together and prayed for her recovery. And I can tell you, Megan, this is not the outcome that they hoped for. Not many of them lined North 5th Street awaiting for the processional escort of the fallen hero. Many of them placing their hands on their chests, including the mayor as the hearse drove by. Burton was only 28 years old, and she served the Richmond Police Department for 4 years. People here say she's gone way too soon, but her impact is everlasting.
No matter what, she was out there helping the community and making life changes for everybody. Rest in peace, and you'll always be watching down on us, Sierra. And I hope and pray that justice will be served for you and your family.
Now people continue to arrive here at her cruiser behind me to place flowers, candles, and balloons, but also these paper bags that you see here. They're all over the Richmond Municipal Building, but also in front of her cruiser. This one says, "You'll be missed dearly, but never forgotten." Now, a lot of these people, like I mentioned, are very heartbroken, and they tell me that they continue to pray for Officer Sierra Burton's family. Now, coming up tonight at 10 and 11, we'll hear from those who she impacted, and one gentleman who says that it's because of Officer Sierra Burton that he's able to live in his truth. Back to you.
All right, Mamie, thank you so much. Unfortunately, we're told there is a scam that's going around involving a fund for Officer Burton. The Richmond Police Department posting this to its Facebook page just a short time ago. These are pictures of that fake fundraiser. The department encouraging anyone wanting to donate to double check and make sure the fundraiser or account is legitimate. And we've been covering all the details of this incident for weeks now. You can find all of our coverage on Dayton247now.com. Just search Sierra in the search tab. And we join the Richmond community in mourning the passing of Officer Burton and remembering her life. A live look at Westminster Abbey in the United Kingdom now. Today is a somber day as the world says goodbye to Queen Elizabeth II.
Pieces up.
The longest reigning monarch in British history is now buried at Windsor Castle, her final resting place. She lies next to her late husband, Prince Philip, and her parents and sister at St. George's Chapel. The Queen was 96 years old and sat on the throne for 7 decades. Details for today's royal funeral have been in planning stages for years now.
She's a symbol, really, a symbol of the strength and power of the country and the unity that she brings together with that family spirit. She's always been there, so she's not political. She cares about everyone. There's no agenda, and has always set an example of values which are really important for us.
It didn't really feel real till I walked through there, and now it feels very real that she's actually gone. But I felt I needed to come and say goodbye from myself and from my family and say thank you.
The royal funeral today ends 10 days of national mourning. Today is declared a public holiday in Queen Elizabeth's honor. You can see the streets of London all empty there. 2 minutes of silence were observed across the entire UK to honor the Queen. The service ended with a somber rendition of the national anthem, God Save the King. More than 10,000 police officers were on duty today, the biggest operation in the London Metropolitan Police's force history. And a reaction now from across the country this evening. First, this tweet from Governor Mike DeWine. The British flag, he says, is flying outside the Ohio State House and at the governor's residence in Bexley in honor of the late Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. And former President Barack Obama sent out this tweet today with a short video tribute to the late Queen. He also expressed how Queen Elizabeth welcomed him to the world stage with extraordinary generosity. He also went on to say, quote, "Our thoughts are with the royal family and those mourning her passing," end quote. All right, well, it was still a warm day today, but it's definitely starting to feel more like fall out there, Natalie. I don't know what it is, but it definitely feels like summer is coming to an end.
Yes, especially by later this week, we are going to notice a trend downwards. But until then, it's kind of hot, a little bit sticky out there. Here's a look at what's going on our Kettering Hill sky cam. We got some blue skies looking pretty good currently, sitting at 82 degrees, but it feels like 84 thanks to the humidity. We have our dew points in the mid 60s. It does feel a little bit warmer than that actual temperature. Now, around the board, we are in the 80s and 70s. We have 79 Bell Fountain, 77 Urbana, 82 in Dayton, same thing in Troy. For tonight, we will start to see temperatures fall to right around 60 degrees. Another night where we could see some fog around the area by early tomorrow morning, so keep that in mind for the morning commute. But coming up, I am talking about a big cold front that will arrive later this week. I'll let you know how cool temperatures will get coming up here in just a bit.
Natalie, thanks. Puerto Rico is seeing catastrophic flooding as Hurricane Fiona makes landfall. More than 1.4 million people are without power as the storm brought an island-wide power outage and threw the U.S. territory into a night of heavy rain and life-threatening flooding. Roads have been ripped up and landscapes are destroyed. Homes and lives. At least one death has already been reported and more than 1,000 people had to be rescued. Nearly 200,000 don't have drinking water at this point. People there are also seeing winds up to 75 miles per hour, and they're expecting anywhere from 6 to 24 inches of rain at some point today. That brings the total up to 30 inches of rain in some parts of the island.
The water will rise in the order of minutes and hours and can just take you completely off guard.
Now, President Biden has declared a state of emergency there. This comes as tomorrow marks 5 years since Hurricane Maria devastated the island, and people are still recovering from that storm. After Maria, it took nearly a year before power was restored to all residents. Though the island received billions of dollars in federal funding for its electric grid after that happened, the system is still frail, as shown by Hurricane Fiona. And President Biden says, in part, Jill and I are keeping the people of Puerto Rico in our prayers as Hurricane Fiona passes over your beautiful island. We are here for you, and we will get through this together. The full force of the federal government supports you. Now, speaking of President Biden, he spoke about several issues during a 60 Minutes interview last night on CBS. One of them was how the U.S. would react if the island of Taiwan was invaded by China. He says U.S. forces would militarily defend Taiwan. It's the president's most explicit statement on the issue yet. China claims a self-ruled Taiwan as part of its own territory, though the One China policy has threatened the use of military force to bring it under its control. China has been angered since House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan. The White House backed up its longstanding policy after the interview, saying the U.S. policy regarding Taiwan hasn't changed. That policy, meaning the U.S. doesn't support Taiwanese independence, but will provide it with its means to defend itself. Now, the president also making a big statement in regards to COVID-19 during that same interview, saying that the pandemic is now over. The World Health Organization, though, said last week that the end of the pandemic is in sight. The U.S. is still under a public health emergency. In the past, President Biden has acknowledged the U.S. still has a problem with the virus. And take a live look at the CDC's COVID data tracker tonight. You can see through the numbers, they've been on the decline. They're still high, though. So far, more than 1 million Americans have died due to COVID-19. And there have been more than 95 million cases since the pandemic began. Well, tonight we need your help. We need you to nominate a hometown hero. It's a new segment that we've started here at Dayton 24/7 now. So if you know someone who's making a difference here in our community, let us know about it. Now, here's what we need: pictures and or a video of your nominee with an explanation of why they are a hometown hero. You can submit your nominations through our Dayton 24/7 Now app. Just open that app, click on Explore, then press Chime In. Hometown Hero airs Wednesday and Friday mornings and will then be posted online. And you can get that app for free right now. To get you started on your nomination, just scan the QR code there on your screen. That's going to take you straight to the App Store where you can download it. We're still working on a couple of stories for you after the break. First, new testimony in the murder trial of George Wagner IV. Hear from a crime scene investigator with Ohio BCI about the evidence found at that scene. And 2 Ohio parents accused of horrific child endangerment behind bars tonight. How the kids are doing and what's next in their parents' prosecution.
Plus, tracking a hot start to the week before we see a cold front later this week. That's coming up. You're watching Dayton 24/7 Now.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk. Many Puerto Rican communities are underwater tonight after Hurricane Fiona battered the island with up to 30 inches of rain. The governor calls the destruction catastrophic. All that rain destroyed roads and bridges and triggered landslides. More than 1,000 stranded people have already been rescued as teams look to save even more. Most of the island is without power, a situation that could last for days.
Follow the National Weather Desk on your favorite social media platform.
The murder trial of George Wagner IV entering its second week today. Wagner and 4 other family members are accused in the shooting deaths of 8 people 6 years ago in Pike County. Today, prosecutors presented more evidence found at the first crime scene where relatives found the first 2 bodies. James Pilcher has a recap of what happened in court.
Monday began with more direct testimony of Shane Hanshaw, one of the crime scene investigators called in for the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation. Hanshaw testified he found a call log inside a notebook while searching Rhoden's home. You'll be hearing the voice of Special Prosecutor Andrew Wilson, followed by Hanshaw.
And can you tell us the last dates associated with the names in that document?
Just the date?
The date and the name, that's fine.
The name is Billy, and the date is 4/21/2016.
Billy Wagner is one of the 4 Wagners charged in the April 2016 murders of Chris Rhoden Sr. and 7 other members of the Rhoden and Gilley families. Prosecutors have said Billy Wagner called Chris Sr. on the day of the murders, and the 2 were friends. Billy pleaded not guilty, as has his son George IV, the first to go on trial for the crimes. Hanshaw was the first witness for the prosecution from BCI. That agency handled the nearly 4-year investigation into the murders. Friday, Hanshaw introduced a key piece of evidence, footprints found at the scene. The style and size of the shoe prints were later linked back to the Wagners through a Walmart purchase made by George's mother Angela shortly before the murders. Monday, Hanshaw talked about finding a baseball cap with an apparent bullet hole in the back. It later was found to have a bullet lodged in the front bill. DNA later showed it was Gary Rhoden's. He was Chris Sr.'s cousin, also found dead in the first trailer.
And that was James Pilcher reporting. Now, this is a look over downtown Dayton from earlier today from our Dayton 24/7 Now Sky View. A gloomy day here in the Gem City. Let's find out if the week ahead is going to hold any more muggy days like this. Natalie, what do you have for us?
We got some muggy days ahead, at least for these next couple of days, before we get some big relief by later this week. Satellite and radar showing things much calmer than earlier. We did see some showers earlier into the day. Those clouds have started to clear out of the region as well. Bigger picture here showing our storm system off to the northeast. Our frontal boundary has made its way to the south of us, but as we head into our Thursday timeframe, even Wednesday, we are starting to see some impacts of a cold front that will push its way through. So this is what we're expecting tonight. Some areas of fog possible, so some patchy fog. For Tuesday, staying pretty quiet, but looking into Wednesday, it's going to be hot, close to 90 degrees, and then we start to see a cold front move in. This will bring a chance for some storms by late Wednesday, and then also the potential for some of those on the stronger side. I'm going to talk about that and how cool we'll get behind the front coming up.
Natalie, thanks. The parents accused of a horrific child endangerment case out of Hocking County are now in custody. The mom and dad are accused of putting a toddler in this homemade cage. Deputies arrested Franklin T.J. Varney and Megan Smith this afternoon in a wooded area after about 12 hours on the run. Luann Stoya reports.
Deputies tell us they had a search warrant for the couple's arrest after a woman claimed she was raped inside their home. Investigators tell us they never expected to find such a horrific scene inside that house. Deputies say a 3-year-old boy was rescued from a cage, a pack-and-play with a baby gate zip-tied and locked on the top. According to deputies, inside there was feces, bugs, and a sippy cup of spoiled milk. Investigators say a 1-year-old was toddling around with a meth pipe in her hand. Deputies say the conditions inside the home were deplorable, and the sights and smells made them sick. The children's grandmother was arrested and charged with child endangering. Both babies are okay and in foster care. The couple was arrested by a creek after 12 hours on the run. The sheriff says the couple had a number of charges already on the books. Additional charges are expected. In Hocking County, I'm Luann Stoya reporting.
Luann, thanks so much. One Navy veteran is now on his way back home after a prisoner swap between the U.S. and the Taliban. Earlier today, the White House announced the move to bring home Mark Frericks, who was in Afghanistan doing contract work when he was kidnapped back in January of 2020. The exchange releases Bashir Noorzai, a Taliban associate who was convicted of heroin trafficking in 2008 and has spent 17 years behind bars. Frericks disappeared weeks before a peace deal between the U.S. and Taliban was reached. Investigators believe he was taken by a group with links to the Taliban. A story now from our partners at the Dayton Business Journal. A major production and distribution plant in the Dayton area is on target to complete its multi-million-dollar expansion in just a few weeks. White Castle is going to be adding a 75,000 square foot building expected to be complete by mid to late September. The expansion is creating 75 new jobs, and 60 of those workers have already been hired and are currently in training. This building will be operational in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Now, we have all the details for you right now on Dayton247now.com. You can find this story plus others like it right there under the Dayton Business Journal heading in the News tab. There's a new database to track the world's fossil fuel production. It's called Global Registry of Fossil Fuels and includes data from more than 50,000 oil, gas, and coal fields in 89 countries. It tracks global fuel reserves that have yet to be burned, functioning as a countdown until the Earth runs out. You can even sort the data by country and see historical and projected emissions under various scenarios. You can learn all about the data at fossilfuelregistry.org.
Well, it's warm and muggy out here at our Watson's weather patio. Got some mosquitoes out here as well, with temperatures that have been hanging out overall in the 80s. And eventually a cold front's going to make its way through. Wanted to talk about this cold front, though. This is a look at what we're expecting on Wednesday, because as that cold front does make its way through, we could see some stronger storms. Right now we do have a level 1 threat for severe storms for areas north of I-70. So we'll monitor those storms by late Wednesday, but notice as we head through these next 7 days or next 5 days, we do start to see much cooler air. Notice high temperatures back in the 60s and 70s, lows even dropping into the 40s. Going to have a look at that 7-day forecast at the latest coming up.
Natalie, thanks. It's nearly time to kick off the fall season. Still ahead, how you and your family can celebrate with all your fall favorites. You're watching Dayton 24/7 now.
the Dayton 24/7 Now News app, brought to you by the Jeff Schmidt Auto Group.
All your fall favorites are back in the Miami Valley. Nathan Edwards takes us to Sizemore Farms with some fun that you can have with a whole family, plus some other options to get into the fall spirit.
This week is the official kickoff to fall. The temperatures are going to start dropping. It's going to be sweater season, and no better way to celebrate than to come out to a local pumpkin patch. And I'm here at Sizemore Farm, where they have pumpkins. They have a hayride that they tout as one of the cheapest in the Miami Valley. A great opportunity for kids. They also have kettle corn they make in-house, apple cider. I mean, all the fall favorites. And it's not just this farm here in Miamisburg that is opening up to the public this week. You have plenty of other pumpkin patches all throughout the Miami Valley. Fulton Farms, you have Young's Dairy. You have a lot of great options if you want to get out and have some fall fun. So, grab a cup of apple cider, come pick a pumpkin, and get into the fall spirit.
Well, finally, some fall-like weather later this week. Wanted to take a look at this. So this is future temperatures. Wednesday at 3 p.m., we're looking at temperatures close to 90 degrees. It's going to be hot, pretty humid. We'll have our cold front swing through. And then by Thursday, we'll see our high temperatures right around 70, hanging out in the 60s for most of the day. And then check out this. By early Friday morning, now keep in mind, this is just one forecast model, but it's indicating potentially low temperatures back into the lower 40s by our early Friday morning. So right now I do have a low temperature of 46. We're still a few days away where we can see some changes, but do expect some much colder air by later this week. Take a look at that. First day of fall will feel like fall, 70 degrees for our temperature, waking up to those mid 40s as you head into your early Friday morning, and then we get some more rain with 70s this weekend.
That is some drop between Wednesday and Thursday there.
Huge drop, but I think it's much needed at this time of the year.
Absolutely. All right, we are headed over